Oh gosh, I think we need a microphone. We can't hear you at all.
Okay.
I can talk about it. And it certainly isn't going around the corner.
How's this?
Oh, much better.
Okay, does it sound okay?
That's it.
Okay. We wanted to welcome you all to this event, which is called Hold the Plastic, Please. And this is an event that Viroqua Plastic Free is putting on. And I wanted to introduce the Viroqua Plastic Free members.
Sorry.
This is Vicki Ramsey, Philip Beavizen, Mary Hockey, Flo Standard, and Tom Repke. There we go.
We also have some student helpers from youth initiatives. So if you need anything, there's Emrys and Woodian and Bella and Huckleberry somewhere. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We wanted to thank Chris Clemens, the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, and also the co-owner of Noble Rhine with his wife Sarah, for assisting with and promoting this event. And we want to thank Magistrate Matter and McIntosh Library for providing the venue for this event. And we also want to thank the business owners and the school representatives for coming. And we would like to ask you to raise your hand, maybe tell us who you are, who you represent, so we know who is here. Maybe Tina, could we start with you?
I'm Tina Nelson. I'm the food service director at Kickapoo School.
The information that we are going to be presenting tonight, we've printed a booklet. We're going to be providing one to each of the businesses and schools that pre-registered and that are at the event. So, Jonah, maybe you want to...
I'm Jonah Curley. I'm the operations manager at the Viroqua Food Co-op.
And I'm Jennifer Foy. I'm the marketing manager.
Okay, great. And we had someone from Understate.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
that's you. Hi.
Hi, the director of cafe operations with Understate.
Okay, perfect. And do we have any other businesses that perhaps did not pre-register?
Noble Rhine.
Oh, well, of course, Noble Rhine.
Chris
yes.
Clemens, director of the Viroqua Chamber and co-owner of Noble Rhine.
Right.
You can keep that. I really cost too much money. I've got an individual format.
Okay, perfect. So Viroqua Plastic Free is a 501c3 organization, and our mission is to educate the public about the negative impact plastic has on the environment and on our health, and also to work to eliminate single-use plastic in our communities. And this is our third event being held here at the library. Last July, we had an event called the Plastic Conspiracy, Beyond the Myth of Plastic Recycling. And last November, we held an event, the Plastic Conspiracy Part 2, How Plastic Makes Us Sick. And our goal this evening is to work with local businesses and local schools to provide information about how they can work to move from using disposable products in their business or school to reusable ones. And we realize that it is challenging for business owners and school representatives to take the time to do a lot of research. And so we are committed to helping with that process. And now Vicki is going to show a video, a little bit about the plastic situation.
So this video, can you hear me okay? Or should I use the thing? Use the thing? Okay. This video is made by the people who made The Story of Stuff, and they also made a video called The Story of Plastic, which is quite long. I think it's about an hour, but the video we're going to show is just a 5-minute version of The Story of Plastic, which gives a really great overview of why we should care. If you're not familiar with The Story of Stuff or The Story of Plastic, I highly recommend it. It's fun and informative, and you can get it for free on YouTube. So here's a 5-minute version for you all.
You've probably heard about a giant trash island in the ocean. Or that poor sea turtle and the straw. Maybe you've even heard how plastic is being found inside the fish we eat. The plastic crisis gets a lot of attention, but the headlines usually focus on the plastic that ends up in the environment. And that's just part of the story. The truth is, plastic has a whole life cycle that's hidden from view. One that harms people and the planet from start to finish. Let's start at the beginning.
I don't know why I'm doing that into beautiful bars, but...
Plastic is made from fossil fuels like oil or fracked natural gas. Extracting those fossil fuels and turning them into plastics creates a lot of pollution. Pollution that most often affects marginalized communities nearby. As we've gotten better about using less oil and gas to power our lives, the fossil fuel industry found a lifeline in plastics. In fact, oil and gas companies are doubling down on plastic production, with plans to build or expand over 300 petrochemical plants in the US alone by 2025. But these companies already produce more plastic than we can use. So where's all that plastic going? A lot of it's flowing into new markets in places like Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Because more than any other product category, plastic isn't driven by the demand for it, but by the supply. Corporations like Unilever, Nestle, and Procter & Gamble are aggressively marketing single-use plastic products around the world. These companies go to places like Indonesia, where I live, and push their products onto communities that just aren't prepared to deal with all that plastic. Maybe they're used to using natural packaging. Maybe they live on a tiny island without a system of waste collection. And on top of that, countries in the global north are shipping their own plastic waste into these countries too. When you add that all up, it's no wonder so much of this plastic ends up in the environment. And globally, that's where a whopping 32% of plastic packaging ends up. 40% goes to a landfill, where plastic just piles up for future generations to deal with. And 14% is incinerated. Incineration is a nasty business, producing toxic smoke and fly ash. These super expensive facilities depend on plastic to burn everything else. It is oil and gas after all. So they want to see more plastic, not less. Then there's recycling. Unfortunately, it's not the solution that many people think it is. Just 14% of plastic packaging gets recycled, and only 2% is effectively recycled, meaning it becomes something as useful as before. The rest is downcycled into something worse. And most recycled plastic is only recycled once before ending up in landfills, incinerators, or the environment anyway. So it turns out that we can't burn, bury, or recycle our way out of this problem. And we can't just scoop all that plastic out of the environment either. That's like trying to bail out a bathtub with a teaspoon while the tap is on full blast. So how about we turn off the tap by shutting down the plastic machine? That means passing policies that create systemic change, like phasing out the single-use plastics that pollute the most, ending the fossil fuel subsidies that are fueling big plastic, and holding companies responsible for the plastic waste they create. That's how we can achieve our vision of a zero-waste future, where all of our products and packaging can be reused or repaired, effectively recycled or composted, and ultimately how we create a sustainable, circular economy that works for both people and the planet. Visit storyofplastic.org to learn more and take action.
Alright, so that is why we are doing this work, because the plastic that we have on the planet is nothing that anybody of us here asked for. The plastic is being given to us whether we like it or not. And one of the things that happened when Governor Walker was governor was he passed a law that said you can't regulate plastic in the state of Wisconsin. You can't put a charge on bags, you can't ban plastic bags, you can't ban plastic bottles. So other states in the union are banning plastic bags, banning plastic bottles, banning plastic, single-use plastic, but our state, we cannot do that. So we have to do it from the grassroots up, and we have to start with ourselves and then also with people who are in the public eye, like you all, who are with schools and restaurants, to set an example for what we can actually do because we care about the earth and we care about what we do to the earth, and we want to try to create a more sustainable future. So this is going to take me a second to see how to do this. Tell me if this is still sharing the screen. Can you see this? Okay, great. So plastic is found, there's virtually not a place on Earth where plastic is found. So some of these pictures are just sad and poignant, you know. So in case you didn't know, seahorses, they often will hold on to like a heavier thing in the water to keep the current from dragging them down. So here you found a little Q-tip. Here's one. This is a commonplace occurrence, unfortunately, and if you ever want to watch a beautiful film called Albatross by Chris Jordan, it's a gorgeous but sad and unsettling film about the way that the albatross, who normally live in the Midland Islands in the Pacific and then spend like 5 or 6 years just out at sea, not ever touching land, they rely on the ocean for their food, and they trust the ocean to bring what they need. And unfortunately what happens is they now are eating plastic, and there's so many animals that are dying of plastic consumption.
Is that the inside of an albatross?
That's the inside. So the scientists cut open the belly to show the plastic that was inside.
They're also feeding their babies.
And that film shows that, you know, it goes through the life cycle of the albatross, and it's super beautiful, and how they nest and how they don't help the baby out of the egg because they know they have to be strong enough to leave the egg, and they're just super caring parents, and then when they go out to sea to get their food, they come back with plastic. And so it's worth watching even though it's sad. It's one of those films that, I don't watch too many sad things, but that one, it's like the grief that you feel is like the grief we all should feel, you know.
What's the name of the film?
Albatross.
Just so I know.
Albatross by Chris Jordan. So there's another there's another popular film called Albatross that was made at the same time that's more like a popular culture film, but this one's by Chris Jordan. This shows how plastic gets into our ocean. So if we think like, oh, we're landlocked here, we're really far from the ocean, we all know that rivers lead to the sea, and you can see that trash is washed down the storm drains, and then those lead to rivers, and eventually the rivers flow to the sea. So we're all connected, our water bodies are all connected. Here is, I don't have to say something about every picture, some of them like this one are pretty self-explanatory. That's a manta ray. And I guess one thing to notice about this is that when we think about plastic in the ocean, when you hear about the plastic gyres that are in the ocean that are bigger than the size of Texas, you imagine like large pieces of plastic trash, but what they've described is more like a plastic fog. So it's like a soup of plastic with really tiny microplastic particles floating in the ocean. And you would imagine kind of like going to the moon or going to the deep ocean that you would find pristine water. And sadly, you don't. You find water that's contaminated with plastic. Here is what those gyres look like. That is not a very big picture, but there it is. They're in the ocean, they're in the Pacific, the Atlantic. There's 5 of them that they've pinpointed, but I think that just means they're all, that's where the plastic is circulating more than anything. This is in India, and a lot of the challenges with our system is that we're sending our plastic waste to countries that don't have a plastic disposal system, and so they are like swamped with our plastic. because they don't have a way to dispose of it, but somehow we've made a deal with their country to like pay them to take our plastic or take our trash. And so this is a common situation in Myanmar, in India, and in other countries that just simply don't have the infrastructure. The world does not have the infrastructure to handle the kind of plastic that we're producing. So the reason we feel so strongly about this is because, like I said, nobody asked for it, and the oil companies are trying to get every last drop of profit that they can out of the shrinking oil supply. And the way they're doing it is by making plastic, and they're making more plastic than we can handle. So it's just really important that we know that, and then we say no, because we have to start somewhere, and we have the right to say no. We don't want our earth like this. Even at the bottom of the ocean, this is in the Marianas Trench, there you see remnants of plastic and human waste. So it's even down there, like in the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean. Here's a dolphin. So one of the challenges with the plastic that we have in the environment is that it's oftentimes related to fishing. There's like cast-off fishing nets that will grab animals and trap them, and so that's one of the sad parts that hopefully we can change the laws about. And then this is just the last one. That's just kind of a typical landfill with animals that try to go there to find food. Okay, so I think that's that. I don't know if we need to see all that. Okay, and then this is what we want. So
we're going to the first slide.
okay, we'll do that. Oh, sorry, there's one last thing. 44% of ocean plastic litter is food and drink containers. And so this is why we think restaurants can be a significant part of the solution, and because restaurants are the face in the community, they can help share this positive message. This one, right?
The information that we're sharing tonight was created by an organization called Beyond Plastics. And they are a nationwide project that started back in January of 2019 with the mission of ending plastic pollution everywhere. So it's a pretty daunting task. The president is Judith Enck, and she is a former EPA regional administrator under President Barack Obama. And Beyond Plastics offers webinars, creates material on a wide variety of plastic issues. And they are an amazing resource. They are very active on a national level, fighting against plastic pollution. And one of the things that they have created is this information that we are sharing with you tonight, talking about how restaurants, in a step-by-step process, can move from using disposables to using reusable items. And so that's really the focus of our event this evening, not only for food service businesses, schools, restaurants, and everything in between. We wanted to encourage and help with the process. So Vicki is going to, we already did that.
I guess there's a couple things I can say.
Yeah.
Are we ready for slide 7? This one?
No.
Not yet.
We're ready for slides 5 and 6. Unless you want to do slide 4. You mentioned the 44%.
Oh, yeah, okay. There's just one last little thing. I think we said restaurants can be a significant part of the solution. The future is not in plastics. Businesses can decrease costs, grow their clientele, increase revenue, and make a real and vital contribution to the health of the environment.
Okay, so we'd like to start just with a brief overview of this 5-step process, and then we're going to return to these slides to talk about them in a little bit more detail. But the first step in this whole project is to conduct a plastic audit. And basically, it would just help a business or school be more consciously aware of the amount of plastic that they're using, if there are items that are perhaps critical, if there are items that can be easily replaced. The second part is to involve your staff. And this is the strongest predictor of success, and educating your staff about the plastic issue, and then giving them the tools to communicate to the students or your customers, giving them the words to let them know what a business is trying to accomplish is very helpful for them. Then the next step is involving your customers. Let them know what you're doing. Let them know why you're doing it and how they can help. But the program encourages you to do it in a fun and imaginative way. Really get people on board with the idea. And then it comes to making the switch. Consider the options for reusable dishware, reusables for takeout, perhaps bring your own container options, or considering disposables as a very last resort. And then the fifth step is tell the world. Don't be shy about showing off your green business, and you can have signs in your place of business, you can be on social media, but you can get the word out about what you are going to be doing. And then there's two additional points. One question that crops up pretty early is how does a business or school pay for this? And we're going to be giving you information about a financial subsidy program that is designed to do exactly that. And then the seventh point is Viroqua Plastic Free. We are committed to reducing plastic, and we are here to help. We can walk with you through the steps, no charge. This is something that we just feel very strongly about and want to help businesses make the switch as easily as they can. And you are going to talk about slides 10, 11, and 12. Yep.
All right, so just a few highlights from the slides. So this is basically, this slideshow is available for free online. You can access it by going to Break Free from Plastic. And then
Beyond plastic.
Beyond Plastic, sorry. Yeah. Thank you. And so you can access any of this information there. One of the things is that it saves money, and so you can see reports by organizations devoted to the reduction of plastic waste have unanimously demonstrated cost savings for eateries. The public interest nonprofit group Upstream has worked with nearly 300 food service operators making the switch from single-use to reusable food serviceware, and reports that 100% of these businesses and institutional dining programs have saved money. Often these sums are quite high. Upstream's case studies show that savings for small businesses fall between $3,000 and $22,000, and their findings are mirrored elsewhere. The data are abundant and the findings are robust. Switching from disposable to reusable serviceware is a money-saving act. And then slide 11, reducing plastic appeals to customers. So concern about the environment has become a value driver. A 2021 report in Business Wire noted that globally in the past 5 years, 85% of people have shifted their purchasing behavior towards buying more sustainable products, and that environmental integrity is rated as a deciding factor among 60% of consumers. Many of those polled were willing to pay more, up to 25% more on average, a pattern that is especially apparent among millennials and their younger peers. So I can say for a fact that the students that I work with want to have an effect on the world that they live in, and they want to feel that they are empowered to make a difference. And so, and they also want to feel that they can trust the adults in their life. So if we can show people that we're actually trying to work toward better solutions and trying to be a good example, that is good for everybody. The last one is reducing plastic is the future. Stay ahead of the curve, new laws regarding plastic in several states. So I think Flo just sent us one about, what was the most recent state?
Washington and Oregon.
Washington and Oregon both now are working to outline single-use plastic. So, ideally we would be able to do that in our state. We can still talk to legislators, but we can also set an example that shows the will of the people.
And then I think slide 16. So we wanted to talk about each of the 5 steps in a little bit more detail. And back in March, Philip and I joined Chris at Noble Grind, and we went through the steps of a plastic audit. And the plastic audit is described in more detail on page 13 of the booklet. but there are links available. One of the nice things about having a print copy is it's convenient, but if you also check online for it, there's a lot of links in the information, and one of them is a plastic checklist for restaurants. So you're not just walking through trying to figure out where the plastic is or where you might look. There are resources to help with that process. And so I would like to invite Chris and Philothea to kind of talk a little bit about the process. Maybe you can come on up here and we'll give you the microphone.
There's another one too. Sorry.
Okay, hi, yeah, Chris Clemens, Director of the Viroqua Chamber and co-owner of Noble Grind. I'm pleased to be here today, and thank you to Viroqua Plastic Free for holding this extremely important event. If you've been looking at the news lately, the reports are indicating that we are very near the global temperature threshold, for which scientists have been telling us for 50 years there's no turning back. We are nearly there. So as owners of a business in this community, my wife and I are interested in really trying to be part of the solution here. So I was really pleased to hear that Viroqua Plastic Free was holding this event and trying to increase community awareness around this issue. So Philothea and others came into the store to Noble Grind, and this was a really eye-opening experience for us. We started back in our kitchen, and we just looked at all the shelves, what's on the shelf and what is it packaged in. We pop open all the refrigerators. How are we wrapping things up? How are we putting them away? We made our way out into the restaurant, and what are we using for glassware for folks to have their drinks? What are we using for packaging for to-go items? One thing I'll say is I was actually relatively pleased by the job that we're doing there. As business owners, one of the things that we're really sensitive to is cost. The more cost we have into a product, the more we have to charge our consumers in order to buy those products. While we were doing this audit and after we did the audit, and we're looking at solutions, cost was always sort of top of mind to us. As business owners, as members of the community, as thoughtful human beings, we're willing and happy to lose a few cents on an item if it really moves the needle on what we're doing here. So I'll just tell you a little bit about what we discovered, some of the challenges that we encountered as we were trying to find solutions, and then some of the things that we have done to try to be part of the solution here. So one thing we noticed right away, an area that we use probably in excess of what we would like to, but that we don't have a great solution for, is our cling wrap. So when we're wrapping things up, putting things into the refrigerators, and items like that that need to be secured before they go into the refrigerator, we did notice that we're using an abundance of plastic wrap. Oftentimes things that go into our refrigeration, they're in plastic tubs, and oftentimes those tubs will have lids. I don't know if they're actually plastic, they're some kind of plastic. They have lids, but what we discovered during this audit is that many of these lids that we purchased have little notches cut into them so that you can have a utensil inside of your device, and the utensil sticks out. So what this requires us to do before these items go in the refrigerator is wrap them in plastic and then put the lid on them. So what we have done is ordered new lids so that we can at least eliminate that very simple piece of waste. What we also discovered is that stupid notch in the lid for your utensil just is too small to actually fit in the utensil and barely serves us any actual purpose. So a decision like that right up front, had we just been a little more thoughtful at the time, it seemed like that was the right decision to make. And in retrospect, we found that it just wasn't. The notch wasn't any good to us, and we're just creating a lot of waste. So we've replaced our lids in that way.
Are you talking about those stainless steel containers with the stainless steel lids?
Yeah, they're stainless steel with stainless lids. There are, I don't know what the material is. It's a clear, hard plastic. They can take high heat, they can take cold and be okay. But yeah, it's those lids for those containers.
Yeah.
And we store a lot of food in those. I bet most of the food
They're
service.
stackable.
They're stackable.
Yeah.
So we discovered some waste there that we were able to clean up. There's a couple areas where we haven't found great solutions. We use small little ramekins for dressing or honey on a to-go cheese board and lids for those. We don't have a great solution for those. There are stainless steel ramekins out there. They're relatively expensive, and I have not seen one with a lid. So that's an area where we would love to find a solution, and maybe with your contacts and the folks that you know that are trying to be helpful to the solution, we can find that product, but that's one that we have not found a good solution for. I can't afford to give away a stainless steel ramekin that I'm ultimately going to wrap in plastic anyways. So I don't have a great solution there. I wish I could come here today and tell you we've solved this problem, but hopefully after today we all put our heads together, we can find a solution to that. Relative to, and then utensils, forks, knives, spoons for to-go items. We don't actually use a lot of that. I was pleased to learn that that was the case, but we do use plastic spoons for to-go soups. So one policy that we have incorporated, rather than put the soup in the cup, put the cup in the bag, napkin, and a plastic spoon in the bag, we'll ask, do you need a spoon for this? Do you want a spoon for this? And we found that about half the time, no, folks are going home, so we don't have to send them home with a spoon. We started to look at solutions for replacing the spoons. What we discovered is that we can get low quality, but metal forks and spoons. Forks are about 15 cents. The spoons are about 9 cents. That's something that we're considering taking on, and rather than giving you a piece of plastic, we'll send you home with a metal fork or spoon that can then replace that part. Now, there's more ethics behind this. How the heck do you make a fork for 15 cents? What part of the country has that come from? Part of the world? How much fossil fuel was burned to get it here? So that's a solution that we're looking at, but really trying to consider the rest of the downstream costs. But that's a potential opportunity for us to get some savings there. There's a couple of other areas where we have not been able to find great solutions for, to-go coffee cups. They're often usually lined so that your coffee cup doesn't turn into a pile of pulp and leave your coffee cup holder full of smoldering coffee. So what a policy that we've been discussing but haven't put in place yet, and Wonder State does this, is they offer you a discount. Bring in your own cup, and it will give you a discount on your cup of coffee. So that's a really thoughtful, easy thing that that we can do to try to eliminate some of those cups in the stream. And another area where we haven't found a great solution is our to-go boxes. So they're cardboard, except they're also lined, so that again, when you put the hot food in them and send people away, the box doesn't disintegrate underneath them. We haven't found a great solution for that, so I'd be happy to hear if folks have ideas there. There's lots of products in the market that are compostable, that you can pick up, but those products are only as good as your local facilities. The fact is, our recycling center doesn't have the proper equipment to actually turn those compostable units into compost, so my assumption is they just end up in the waste stream. There are more alternatives, there are more answers out there for us. I feel good about the progress we've made. We continue to look at ways that we can continue to reduce plastic. And again, we'd love to hear from some of you other folks who are in the industry and what solutions you found. So thanks for doing this, I really appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Well, the Noble Rhine is a fairly new restaurant, and they were already aware of the problem. And some of the restaurants have been going for a long time, and they really have, older things. And then even if you start a new restaurant, where are you getting your packaging? Where, you might really research who is more conscious of packaging. You've got some nice crackers and things like that in paper and a little window in them, rather than all plastic. And you can go to your supplier and say, we're not going to order from you because we don't want this product. So do have some clout. And I'm hoping that the restaurants and food service people here can help each other. We can pool our information. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're not just like here as experts. We're just trying to help us identify the problems. And some of the problems are coming in. Plastic is coming into your facility. And then the other is plastic that you package in and you send it back out. One of my examples is at food co-op, I saw iceberg lettuce. I was kind of surprised to see iceberg lettuce, but anyway, it was wrapped in plastic in the area where all the nice loose produce is. And I said, why are you wrapping it in plastic? And they said, well, it comes in plastic. Want to pay an extra 10 cents an hour to have people unwrap it? So you think you're getting it plastic-free, and the plastic is back in the storeroom and going out in their trash. It's really a problem. I think the co-ops really, you know, the grocery stores, they're getting a lot of stuff wrapped in plastic. So, sanitation. Are you the sanitarian? Who's the sanitarian here? And there's a health worker. She was going to come. We have a Vernon County health inspector. And she was going to be here tonight because a lot of businesses are saying, well, the health inspector says we're doing things in clamshells. Or the health inspector says now at the farmer's market we have to sell in clamshells. And I think, why the farmer's market? That should be the one place where you can get things just not wrapped. Are they really saying that, or is that a myth? I mean, there might be a myth. But some things you were talking about switching to, that's where some of this funding will come in. So it might not be actually the glassware and stuff. You may say, we already use glasses. But maybe the storage of your salad dressings and dips and condiments and everything, that's where you're using plastic. Or I noticed Noble Rind they have a lot of bulk cheese and bulk sausages. And that's a good idea to go shop someplace where they can do that, because you can have that, it's unwrapped. And so if you're worried about food being wrapped in plastic and sitting on a shelf for who knows how long, you can go to a place that is selling things in bulk and ask them to cut you off a slice and let you take it home. Now, even in Walmart, at the deli, they have a stack of paper sacks. So I always ask them to put my lunch meat, or whatever I have cut, put that in the paper, and then they put the price on that. So for me, paper is not a problem because I burn paper, but paper is also waste. And so you might say, well, let's just go back to paper plates and